Hey there, welcome to Synth Seeker. My name is Luke. Today I am just taking apart a little tiny Berlin School jam that I've put together. I picked up a new piece of gear. My birthday was last week, I think I mentioned in the previous video. And my family gave me some funds, shall we say, and I guess literally gave me some funds. And I purchased a Arturia Microfreak, because that is about how much space I have available on my desk at this point, amidst all the other things. And I've spent the last day or so, or I don't know, maybe the last 12 hours, barring sleep, sort of playing around with it and getting a feel for it. And I've been playing with the Modal engine, and I like that sort of plucky sort of behavior sound that comes out of that. And I've just been building up a little Berlin School texture and using an arpeggiator in Ableton. I could use the ARP sequencer within it. I haven't dug into the manual yet. But I was exploring how I can control the Microfreak via MIDI CCs, like what parameters did I have available to me. And actually, let's see, it's quite a few. The manual kindly says what you can control, and the things I've been looking at is oscillator, timbre, and shape, really, CC 12 and 13. All right, getting back to where we were, with the transport running, that helps. So I've taken a couple controls, a couple little CC controls, 12 and 13, which map to shape and timbre of the oscillator, the modal oscillator here for the Microfreak. And I am just modulating those. They're mapped to these two LFOs. And the LFOs, one is doing a sort of a random pattern. It's changing every eighth note, so that I've got this arpeggiator running with eighth note plucks, playing eighth notes. And so I've got the shape LFO changing the shape of each pluck every eighth note. And it's offset slightly so that it makes the change before the note is struck, not in the middle of the strike. And then the timbre LFO is really slow, 0.04 of a hertz, right? So we're talking 32, 64 bars before you get a full cycle. And that's just slowly sweeping the timbre control on it. All right. And then I do have a third LFO sitting here that is modulating the arpeggiator style ever so slightly, moving through about 4 different arpeggiation styles every 16 bars. And that is on a cyclic 16 bar pattern. So it sounds not random because it's moving so slowly. So you get some repetition for each arpeggiator style, but the styles do change. But the styles don't change randomly. They change in a cycle that lasts every 16 bars. So it's sort of layers of modulation. And it sounds like this. Okay. So those are being held. The arpeggiator's in hold mode, so I don't have to keep it going. And it's just going to play through there. Now, for some note randomization, after the arpeggiator, I do have a random MIDI plugin that 10% of the time, so one note out of every 10, it's going to shift that note up anywhere from 0, 1, or 2 steps. All right. Following that random plugin, I have a minor scale, basically quantizer, MIDI quantizer. So if it does do those shifts, depending on which note it is, if it's outside the scale, we're in F minor right now. If it's outside the scale, it'll force it back into the scale. So our arpeggiation is going to sound good, but not too repetitive. That's going out to the Microfreak through my external instrument plugin. And then the audio that's coming back in, I've got some beat repeat microfills running on that. So you hear some little stuttering, and the stuttering gets detuned slightly. Then all of that, because the timbre is shifting, the volume can change a lot on the Microfreak, so I'm running that through a little compressor just to level it out. And then that runs into sort of a space echo into a Valhalla Shimmer plugin. And that's how we're getting this sort of Berlin School plucked bed. So it's arpeggiation with some randomization of the timbre and the shape of the synth, some modulation of the arpeggiator style, followed by a little bit of note randomization, forcing it back into the scale, and then applying our audio effects to it. All right. And that makes a great bed over which you can then take a lead synth and a bass and start laying some things on top of that. So let's see. All right, so there's our bass. And we could play some lead over top of that. That's it. All right. So as far as Microfreak is concerned, I'm liking it a lot. It's going to take me days and days to sort of get through it all. There's so many different variants in it for oscillator type. And its modulation is interesting. The mod matrix is different, and a lot of the sort of conventions that I expect to be there aren't always there, but there's alternate ways to get things done. So it's going to take a while to learn that. Really, that's about it. I just wanted to share this little experiment with you, give you some insight into how I build, in the case of the Microfreak, this sort of plucked bed, and how I work in some variation in using external LFOs, and then turn it into a little bit. So I'm experimenting with this new behavior where I get up really early. I got up, what time is it now? It's about almost 7 a.m., but I got up around 4:30 and used that time to work on some music, just to sort of shake it up. Some people, some creative types are night owls, and some of them get their best work done, in the early morning. And I'm experimenting with early morning. It's working out okay, but man, I am mellow when it's this early. So anyway, I thank you for spending time here, watching me fiddle around with this experiment. And as always, you have been watching Synth Seeker. Have a great day.